For 4.5 billion years, a gargantuan thermonuclear engine has burned at the center of our solar system, converting 600 million tons of hydrogen into helium every single second. This process, nuclear fusion, is the fundamental heartbeat of the universe, a reaction so efficient that it converts mere grams of matter into enough energy to power entire civilizations. Without it, there would be no light, no warmth, and no life on Earth. For decades, humanity has looked at this celestial fire and asked the ultimate question: can we bottle a star? We are currently engaged in what may be the highest stakes gamble in human history. We have poured over $20 billion into a single experimental machine in the south of France. We have built the world's most energetic laser, capable of focusing 192 beams onto a target no larger than a peppercorn. Over the last 60 years, we have pushed the performance of our fusion machines forward by a staggering factor of 10,000. And yet, we are still a factor of 10 away from a commercial power plant. The challenge is so immense it borders on the impossible. To win this bet, we must create temperatures of 150 million degrees Celsius, 10 times hotter than the core of the sun. We must compress fuel to a density 100 times that of lead and hold it there under pressures of 300 billion atmospheres. If we lose control for even a microsecond, the plasma quenches, the reaction dies, and billions of dollars in hardware could be damaged by runaway electrons hitting the reactor walls. For years, fusion was the punchline of a scientific joke. It is the energy of the future and always will be. But on December 5, 2022, the joke stopped being funny. In a laboratory in California, we reached ignition. We fired 2.05 megajoules of laser energy into a tiny capsule and watched as it screamed back with 3.15 megajoules of fusion power. For the first time in history, we won a round against the laws of physics. But don't be fooled. This was just a Wright brothers moment. To actually power your home, that same facility would have needed to produce over 400 megajoules just to break even with the energy pulled from the grid. We are still standing on the shore of a vast, unknown ocean. Is fusion a legitimate path to limitless, carbon-free energy? Or are we just throwing the wealth of nations into a high-tech void? This is the story of our attempt to master the fire of the gods. And the clock is ticking. Today's nuclear power relies on fission, the messy, unstable process of splitting massive atoms like uranium into smaller pieces. But the prize we are chasing is the mirror image, nuclear fusion. Instead of breaking things apart, we are forcing the two lightest isotopes of hydrogen, deuterium, which can be distilled from seawater, and tritium, which is exceptionally rare, to join into a single, heavier helium atom. The result is 4 million times more energetic than burning coal and 4 times more powerful than fission, mass for mass. But there is a reason we don't have fusion on our grid yet. Atomic nuclei are positively charged, and like magnets of the same pole, they repel each other with a force known as the Coulomb barrier. To overcome this invisible wall, we must satisfy the Lawson criteria, a precise triple threat balance of temperature, density, and confinement time. In space, the sun is a gravitational heavyweight. Its massive gravity is so intense it forces atoms together at a relatively cool 15 million degrees Celsius. But on Earth, we lack that crushing pressure. To compensate, we have to make our fuel 10 times hotter than the core of the sun, cranking the engine to a staggering 150 million degrees. How do you hold a 150 million degree fire without melting the container? You don't use a physical bottle, you use a magnetic cage. This is magnetic confinement. The dominant design is the tokamak, a donut-shaped vacuum chamber where powerful magnets force the hot, electrically charged plasma to spin in a continuous, stable loop. To keep the plasma from leaking, we use a safety factor, a mathematical twist in the magnetic field lines that creates a helical path, suppressing the instabilities that would otherwise quench the star. For those who find the tokamak too simple, there is the stellarator. While a tokamak uses a current within the plasma to help create its cage, the stellarator uses a mind-bendingly complex ribbon of twisted external magnets to hold the fuel steady. aiming for a reaction that can run in a steady state for hours or even days. But there is a second path to the star: inertial confinement. At the National Ignition Facility, they don't try to hold the plasma for minutes. They try to finish the reaction in a billionth of a second. They fire 192 of the world's most energetic lasers at a peppercorn-sized fuel pellet. This creates a rocket-like implosion at 400 kilometers per second, crushing the fuel to a density 100 times that of lead and a pressure of 300 billion atmospheres. We have the engines, but we are facing an engineering nightmare. The fusion reaction releases a torrential rain of high-energy neutrons. Because they have no charge, our magnetic cages can't stop them. They slam into the reactor walls with such force that they can displace every single atom in the structure 100 times over, a process that turns hardened steel into something as brittle as glass. To survive, we must build breeding blankets of lithium to absorb these neutrons and transform them into the tritium fuel we need to keep the reaction alive. We are trying to build a machine that must breed its own fuel, withstand the most violent radiation in the universe, and manage heat loads that would vaporize most materials. The government projects are massive, expensive, and slow. But while the giants build, a new wave of private challengers is claiming they can do it faster, smaller, and cheaper. The race for the first commercial sun is about to get very crowded. For decades, the path to the star was a slow, state-funded marathon. At the center of this effort is ITER, the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor. It is one of the most complex scientific collaborations in human history, involving 35 nations including the United States, China, and Russia. But big science moves at a glacial pace. ITER's budget has ballooned to over $20 billion, and while construction began years ago, it isn't expected to begin full-power fusion until 2039. But while the bureaucratic titan moves slowly, a new breed of challenger has entered the arena. In the last decade, fusion has moved from the chalkboard to the boardroom. Private capital is flooding the market, with more than $6 billion in funding flowing into fusion startups. Tech giants and billionaires like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and Peter Thiel are no longer betting on if fusion happens, but who gets there first. The reason for this sudden explosion of interest is a technological breakthrough: high-temperature superconductors, specifically REBCO tapes. These supermagnets can generate magnetic fields twice as strong as anything we had before, hitting 20 Tesla in intensity. Because fusion power scales with the fourth power of magnetic strength, these magnets allow us to build reactors that are far smaller and cheaper. A startup called Commonwealth Fusion Systems is using this tech to build SBARC, a machine designed to reach the same goals as ITER, but at 1/40th the volume. This is no longer just a scientific quest. It is a new space race for energy sovereignty. In the United States, the government has launched a bold, decadal vision to commercialize fusion, but they are being chased. China has made fusion a national priority, pouring $2.1 billion into a single state-owned fusion company in 2025 alone, a figure 2.5 times the entire United States annual fusion budget. Private companies like Helion Energy and Tokamak Energy are promising to put fusion power on the grid as early as the early 2030s. But the hurdles are still immense. Beyond the physics, we face a mountain of economic uncertainty. Critics argue that fusion may suffer from a low experience rate, meaning costs might not drop as fast as they did for solar panels or batteries. Can these nimble startups really outrun the laws of economics and the power of nations? Or is the energy of the future still just out of reach? We have the physics and we have the machines, but as we move from experiments to energy, we hit a wall of cold, hard reality. The first hurdle isn't temperature, it's the fuel itself. To run a commercial reactor, we need tritium, a radioactive isotope of hydrogen that is practically non-existent in nature. Currently, the world's entire supply of tritium comes from an aging fleet of heavy water nuclear reactors, and that supply is dwindling. With a half-life of only 12.3 years, our spark is literally disappearing. Because of this scarcity, a fusion power plant cannot just buy fuel. It must be a closed loop. It has to be a self-breeding machine. If our breeding blankets of lithium fail to capture enough neutrons to create new tritium at a rate of 1-to-1, the star goes out forever. Self-sufficiency isn't a design choice, it is a survival requirement. Then there is the question of the checkbook. In the last decade, the cost of solar and wind energy has plummeted. For fusion to compete, it has to overcome a brutal economic metric, the experience rate. Innovation experts warn that because fusion plants are massive, complex, and customized, their costs may only drop by 2 to 8% for every doubling of production, similar to the slow, expensive path of nuclear fission. Some projections put the cost of fusion power at $121 per megawatt-hour, nearly 3 times the cost of modern solar. But fusion has one card that renewables cannot play: firm baseload power. It doesn't care if the sun sets or the wind stops blowing. It provides a steady, massive river of electricity, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, without the need for continent-sized battery backups. And the prize remains the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card for humanity. Fusion offers zero greenhouse gas emissions. It produces no long-lived, high-level radioactive waste. Its components can be recycled in just 100 years. Most importantly, there is no risk of meltdown. If you break a fusion reactor, the plasma simply expands and cools in seconds. The fuel is distilled from seawater, providing enough energy to power human civilization for millions of years. Nuclear fusion will not be the silver bullet that stops climate change this decade. It is too slow, too complex, and too expensive for a quick fix. But it is something far more significant. It is the long-term energy insurance policy for our species. It is the guarantee that whether it is 1,000 years from now or 10,000, humanity will never again live in the dark. We are the only creatures on this planet who have ever tried to build a sun, and once we light it, we may never have to let it go.